One of our government's flagship programs is Digital India. The tagline says power to empower. What happens when this digitalization starts to empower the ones in power? My name is Arun Singh and this is our show Millennial Matters. Here we are at OP Jindal University, Sonipat, and we are with this bunch of fresh and young students and some really bright faces here. So we are here to discuss the digital side of politics. Do you think political parties are betting big when it comes to social media or digital media? What do you think?
I think that political parties are definitely betting big, as we could have seen in 2014 and this time in 2019, simply because there have been so many times that the ministers have tried to come at our doorstep and relate to us through WhatsApp groups, Facebook, Twitter, and we can see that policies are being driven and broken through simply just social media. So I feel like it is big.
Yeah, the entire scene of politics has been revolutionized. I mean, door-to-door campaigning is happening, but with it parallel is the digital campaigning.
Yes, certainly it is. As you might have seen that nowadays you have the entire industry which is devoted to developing the social media and digital profiles of various politicians, and even those politicians who are more social media savvy, they are being promoted to higher ministries or getting cabinet berths. And additionally, I'll say the previous defunct IT cells which used to exist in various political parties, they have now themselves become a robust institutions by themselves.
And I believe there was a time when people used to follow ideologies or political parties, but they've started following political faces now, right? Personalities. I think all thanks to social media or Twitter accounts that these guys have. Do you follow any politicians like really diligently?
Honestly speaking, I do follow a few of the politicians. For example, Narendra Modi, then there is Rahul Gandhi and some other politicians. But I'd like to add something to your previous question. So since we know that there are various social media platforms, the dynamics of each and every social media platform is pretty different. As we know that their algorithms are also pretty different. As we can find in Instagram, when you post a number of times for using the same hashtag, the same post is often showed in your first preference. But the same is not the case with Facebook. Suppose you have 500 or 5,000 posts with calling Rahul Gandhi as Pappu, but you might not find Rahul Gandhi as Pappu in Facebook. But with Instagram, the case is the same. That's it.
But also you said that algorithms work differently, but I believe there's one algorithm which works for sure, is that whatever you start posting, you tend to get posts related to those. I mean, whatever ideology you follow or put there on the social media, you tend to get the post related to that, and that post probably supports you.
Yeah, it happens. So when you go on Facebook and if you're supporting BJP or you just liked one of their posts, you'll start seeing a lot of videos from those accounts. And also, similarly, the thing that is disturbing is that when you like something of the BJP page in Facebook, you'll start also seeing BJP-related trolls coming into your feeds and coming into your suggestions. So that is what is a little worrying.
Yeah, of course, that's a downside of this big digital scene of politics. We discussed that in the second segment. But before that, do you follow some of your politicians?
Yes, I follow Shashi Tharoor and Rahul Gandhi.
What for, vocab?
No, yeah, partly. But I would like to say another point, that is politics is all about perception. So India is a young nation, so most of our voters are young and they're clueless as to who to vote for. But if you build a good perception on social media, through Twitter, through Facebook, then you can capture votes from those young voters.
Okay, how about our Prime Minister's Instagram game then? Stories, he's been quite regular with it.
I feel that Narendra Modi tries to quite glorify his rule in India for the past 5 years, and that's what he's doing through his Instagram handle. Even though there are a few ifs and buts with his captions, but I feel he's trying to connect with us.
It disturbs your aesthetics, is it?
Yeah. and for me, that doesn't work. As in, I am somebody who will pinpoint his English rather than look at the picture if it's wrong.
Well, I think Modi, I think he's catering to millennial voters. He's trying to use social media as a tool to sort of make himself look younger, make himself relatable to the youth.
Okay, you are a young audience. Is it working for you?
It's not working for me.
Why?
Because I think it's more about narrative creation than it is about relatability. I think the kind of ideology that he puts across, regardless of the method he uses to put across, I think that matters more. I think the sort of ideology that he creates with a sort of Hindu nationalism, a sort of right-wing driven ideology is something that that can't cater to my age group or me personally, simply because regardless of the medium used, it's a matter of ideology and whether or not that fits with my own personal politics.
Yeah, but I believe it's okay to put your ideologies on social media. I mean, whatever you believe in.
No doubt. Yeah? It is.
Who's your favorite politician when it comes to, let's say, going on Twitter or Instagram? Who's done it like nice in a nice way?
Twitter would be, I think, Sushma Swaraj, because she's quite responsive and personally.
She's pretty witty also.
Yeah, and also I feel that so I am somebody who likes traditional media better than new media, but so I saw a couple of news clippings where she has granted passports to somebody. She is reuniting people from across the globe. So and the fact that she was actually responding to people was quite nice.
Did you guys share that video where our Prime Minister says, "Ye PUBG wala hai kya?" Yeah. I mean, that video went viral and of course was a great content for youngsters and a connect as well. What do you think?
With respect, that had a good connect in the first place, because he gave really good points with respect to how students should handle exams. Maybe it wasn't a perspective of a person who's coming from Harvard and who's attended great exams, but he always has the ability to make the person in the lowest rungs of society understand something. You know, I've actually read his book called as How to Deal with Exams or something. It's not bad. And also with respect to Mann Ki Baat, you know, the amount of information I get personally on Mann Ki Baat about every event that happens in India, about the birthdays of great leaders, of people who've come in India. The initiative is great. And when they say millennials, we are just a part of it. We are a privileged part of society which lives here. There's a huge millennial that lives in villages. It's not propaganda. It's more like showing information about what else is happening, which we have access to, but they would never know how to access.
Okay.
So I see it that
So there are different opinions when it comes to our Prime Minister's Instagram game, or let's say politicians playing all big on Twitter or other platforms. But then there are memes, there are these videos which are created, there's user-generated content as well.
I think if you see memes on an internet platform, it only shows engagement on the part of the millennials. So whether or not we like it, we're engaging with it. And the fact that there are memes and there are different kinds, there's a fun that's
But
coming
how
out
about
of
a
politics.
troll gang, or let's say a hate group?
So any kind of hate speech on the internet has, politics or otherwise, always stemmed from.
So do you think that's one like big downside that digital politics brings?
It definitely is, which is why when.
I'm sorry to cut you here, but we're going to take a very short break and we discuss the downside of digital politics when we come after the break. My name is Arun Singh. You're watching Millennial Matters. Politics has become fun now. Why? Because you have memes, you have viral videos, you have trolls. But then trolls, they take a toll on political parties, or let's say ideologies, or people who follow them. What do you want to say?
I think when we established internet as a medium of conversation, we agreed to free flow of ideas, but we also agreed to really isolated thoughts of. So hate speech stems from a certain place, and sometimes we can see it's an industry. Trolls are an industry. There are bot accounts that you find on social media. For example, Twitter clearing out its accounts. They found a drop of millions of bot accounts. So the moment that it becomes an industry, it's a form of business through which trolling is used.
There are two things here. A, there are bot accounts, and then there are accounts which are bought as well in exchange of money, and then they, of course, do the job.
I think I have a slightly different point, and which is one of the downsides, is the target audience is not the youth this time around, it's the rural masses. Because you see 70% of the population still resides in the villages, and the growing size of the smartphone market, and especially WhatsApp. So I guess that's one of the downsides, that it is taking a toll on the gullible public, the rural public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who are not as informed as urban population.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Also, I would like to say that apart from Facebook and Instagram, WhatsApp also started playing a very important role in fake news, because we have seen a lot, like all of us are in most of family groups, and daily we get one political news spread or forward messages, one saying that this has happened. Now nobody knows it's true or not.
UNESCO ने ये ऐलान कर दिया है कि हमारे देश की ये चीज is world best.
And it's just
Yeah.
It's just going around everywhere. So people tend to believe it. So fake news is really in the picture right now.
And that's how these digital platforms have, of course, started mending their this entire mechanism, where WhatsApp has a forward label now, where you can't forward A to a lot of people, and B, whenever you do, there's a forward label.
Well, in the first place, we have to see what Twitter thrives on. And in the same time, we have to see that if an advanced democracy like the United States could be divided so well in the 2016 elections, well, then India is still developing. So I think we must look at it as with a pinch of salt. These are all stages which we have to cross to someday get to a good informed stage in a society where everywhere there's imperfect information. So let's just hope that we reach a stage where everybody has good information.
Talking about international politics, have you guys heard of Cambridge Analytica debate? This, what do you want to say about that? Yeah.
Right. So the most interesting or single most interesting thing about Cambridge Analytica is the fact that different buzzwords, different sort of election tactics are being put to application. I'd say that there is a moral compass that sort of should govern election practices. But what's more interesting is that it's the time of the corporations. It's the best time to be greedy, to be hungry, to be. But then we need to ask ourselves, wasn't it the same 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? It's to put to question the realms of capitalism that were around. More importantly, Cambridge Analytica is set out an entire process, right? Is sort of redefining everything. Now, for all you know, all the elections around the world will govern the principle maybe by which Cambridge Analytica started. So it's kind of a revolution.
They allegedly had a role in Indian politics as well.
Yeah, they were found to be colluding, but it is not. The evidence is not out, so we can't say it. But adding to his point, that the collusion of digital media in international affairs and international politics is also very large. So, as you have noted, the Russian collusion and the Mueller investigation has brought out a report that Facebook had a lot of bot accounts which were controlled by Russians, and it was rolling out memes, rolling out fake news, and that would have led a lot of southern votes because their concentration was the south of America.
So I think with social media, when we are talking about the downside of social media, another very important aspect of it is the need for organizations like Alt News. So Alt News is an organization that tells us, that verifies fake news, if it's real or not. So in a realm like this, in India especially, where there's a big battle going on between the right, center, left on social media, fake news comes out very, very easily and people consume that very, very quick. So we need organizations like Alt News to more organizations like Alt News
Let
to
me
come
quickly
up
plug in our show as well. We have our show called Break the Fake, where we, of course, break the fake news. And, okay, moving ahead. All of you know that WhatsApp chats are end-to-end encrypted. Government wants a hold of that as well, where WhatsApp is disagreeing.
Well, I wouldn't take a political side to it, but otherwise I would like to see it as there are certain issues of national interest. And WhatsApp, if it's end-to-end encrypted, it causes certain problems. So from the issue of national security, I would like to accept it, number one. But
It causes problems.
I mean, if it's encrypted, a terrorist could send another message to another terrorist. I would never know. The government can never get access. For example, in the US, the FBI was unable to unlock a terrorist phone that they found.
Are you guys raising your hands in agreement or disagreement? Can you make some points?
I mean, obviously, politicians and political parties also have corporate interests, and I think it's unfair to assume that these two are mutually exclusive. In the case of WhatsApp or any other large social media corporation, obviously there are interests that are beyond just corporate interests, beyond profiteering interests. And if we don't recognize the fact that politicians and political parties are also invested in these social marketing...
So he's saying that encrypted chats, they are somewhere creating a national threat or a threat to the security.
So are you also saying that the government does not trust us with a simple thing like texting? Yeah. So if I want end-to-end, if I want end-to-end encryption as a part of my privacy, as a right to privacy, so does the government not trust me?
Well, see, it's not. I don't believe it's a matter of trust. It's just that when you want a sovereign nation, there are certain rights that we always have to forego. A certain aspect of they're not asking you to surrender all your privacy. We do know that today, the terrorists have taken.
And WhatsApp has all the privacy these days.
I'm not going to take a side between this so-called debate that's sparked up. What I'd like to highlight is that most of us are aware of BlackBerry Messenger, right? Now, there's a reason why BlackBerry Messenger was put out to question because, they were suspected that terrorists used it because of how secure it was. Even BlackBerry could not. I believe WhatsApp's just a show. Like it's really end-to-end encryption is what? Like you've not defined end-to-end encryption at large. More importantly, I think
No, WhatsApp in its statement has said that, of course, even we can't access the chats. That's what they call their encryption to be.
This is in line with government's several measures to infringe privacy. Like now they can tap phone calls. So I don't think we should allow them to infringe into this because. As he referred to the National Security Act, there are other measures you can get into the terrorist block. So I don't think that is a necessary requirement.
Okay, any points here? A final note for this segment.
Well, it's a democracy. They're allowed to disagree with my point. And this has actually happened since the 90s, if you look at it, when Rajiv Gandhi wanted to get an act passed to look into people's letters and stuff. So it's okay. I mean, you have to trust the government, and the government also has to trust the people.
Okay, before it gets too negative, let's not ignore the upside of digital politics being very big in today's time. My name is Arun Singh, and that's what we discussed in last segment of this show, Millennial Matters. We are at OP Jindal Global University. So clearly there's this one big upside of digital politics, that there's instant results to be seen. You know where people are inclining towards.
Yeah, so I think that is a really good thing, that we are more aware about what's happening, and we know about our politicians, we know what they're saying, what they're doing, and their rallies. And many of the times the youth is not able to view all these things, but now because of these digital platforms, we have we have access to each and everything that they do.
And the youth wasn't as interested as they are now because of digital side.
I mean, ideology aside, it's we have to admit the fact that it is being accessible to a large majority of people in India. And I think if we put the narratives of politics on one side, the fact that a large population of our country is now being able to granted access to information is in itself is largely due to social media and the reach that things like WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, etc. have managed to achieve.
I mean, previously in last segment we discussed about how Sushma Swaraj is being active on Twitter. That if you see that's a really big upside to what digital politics have done.
We are running short of time now. Very quickly, is it going to influence your vote? Whatever you see on digital media, is it going to influence your preference?
Not really, no.
Is it not going to help you to do your research about your candidate?
Yes, but it won't affect my decision on who I'm going to vote.
Okay. So, yeah. What do you think? Very quickly.
I think it would, because I would rather have a candidate who would be there at least replying to my text than showing up on my doorstep once in 5 years.
Okay. So there are different opinions here, but for sure it plays a major and a massive role when it comes to Indian politics. My name is Arun Singh. Here I wrap our special show Millennial Matters from OP Jindal Global University. Thank you so very much.